What's this?
It's your birthday, remember?
Hallmark. You went all out.
Well, it's not every day your best friend turns 73.
I wouldn't say you're old, but if you were a lizard, you'd be a belt by now.
Shoebox greetings. Hallmark's unexpected way to say you care.
I guess that makes you a wallet.
Hallmark has the ways to say you care.
We're gonna take your picture. Here we go. Okay, give me a big smile. Don't worry, kids love me. Oh, it's a phone. They want you to smile. They'll call you back. So this guy walks into a psychiatrist with a squid on his head. Oh, you've heard this one. Ow! Funny thing happened to me on the way to the sandbox today. Look, I'm the mouse man. Don't cry. It's just me. It's not really a mouse. I'm dying here. You like French fries? You like McDonald's? What did I tell you? Kids love me.
Catch this pig!
Sounds like a pig.
Awesome! Catch this rooster!
Sounds like a rooster.
Awesome!
Sound like who they are.
That's his cow!
Sounds like a cow.
Awesome.
Catch this cat!
Sounds like a cat.
Awesome!
Sound like who they are.
4 different Awesome Tossums, each sold separately. Batteries included. Big available May 1st.
How did I make it big? I know how to play the game. I buy real estate, hotels, fancy cars, even railroads, and I take chances. To make it big, you've got to play the game. I'm Monopoly Game.
4 guys rushing through the rush hour. By the hand, by the hand. McMuffins fresh and hot, or biscuits golden brown. Breakfast by McDonald's, what a way to get around. Round 2,
You're out, guys.
It's a good time for the great taste. Bye, breakfast by the hand.
Try our new Fast Break combos. Bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit or sausage and egg biscuit with regular size coffee and regular size orange juice, just $1.99.
Hamburger places may be good at making hamburgers, but when they try to make chicken, it doesn't always fly. That's why I count on the chicken experts, Kentucky Fried Chicken. The Colonel's secret recipe makes their chicken tender, juicy, and downright delicious.
Things are lickin' good. At Kentucky Fried Chicken, all we do is chicken, so we do it right. Those burger places are only fooling themselves.
Kentucky Fried Chicken, we do chicken right.
NBC Sunday Night at the Movies will return following these messages.
Monday at NBC movie premiere.
Stay away from John Doe 83.
He has a power they can't imagine.
Some form of telepathy?
He's sending me his dreams.
He's sending them his nightmares. The Sender. Monday.
Passion has turned to obsession.
The child is my son.
Danger surrounds him.
Will you help me?
It's never been so real. Beauty and the Beast, Wednesday.
This is CBS.
I just returned from America, where they rush. Work.
Don't they go mad?
Yet they escaped to Belgium.
Escape? Abandon themselves to pleasures, eat and drink delicious things, get treated like Czar by friendly waitress.
Pretty girl.
We do Billigan's escape.
Your escape from the everyday.
Strovia.
Who's this guy?
Wait till they get a load of me.
Wrap up the holidays with Batman, the gift you want to give, the gift they want to get. Batman on video cassette for sale at stores everywhere.
Oh, that was expensive as
the
fuck.
7-Eleven Bowl Bash.
He takes it 2 yards deep in the end zone, and he's bringing it out to 30. Shakes off a tackle.
$25 for a VHS? Come on.
In case unexpected guests drop by, stock up and save on all your soda at the 7-Eleven Bowl Bash.
Talk about it. Question number 1. Football.
The 7-Eleven Bowl Bash, official sponsor of all your bowl game needs.
Wednesday, the new nanny's a knockout.
We can find somebody better, someone weathered.
Mr. Belvedere already has his own show.
Growing pains. Then meet a political animal.
Superficiality and good looks can carry you just so far. Like to the vice presidency.
Head of the class.
Wednesday.
Hiya, kid.
Been a long time.
You were something.
You're still a klutz.
You're still using Bounty.
Bounty's the quicker picker-upper.
Here's looking at you, kid.
Velveeta versus butter.
Watch.
Which melts better? Velveeta was just made to melt. Velveeta versus cheddar. See how much more smoothly, more evenly Velveeta melts. Never separates or gets oily. Try it yourself.
Velveeta versus a snowplow.
Which melts better, more smoothly, more easily? Velveeta. Velveeta really cooks.
How much royalty can you buy for 49 cents? One drop of Royal Bubble Bath or King Ralph's Royal Deal at Burger King. Buy any size fries and a soft drink and get a double cheeseburger for 49 cents.
2 killer comedies and a thriller Columbo Wednesday, first at a special time.
Your own girlfriend gives you the green light and you got access to a bevy of beauties? This will be a date.
Not a date.
More like a carpool.
Dookie hugs are empty, and Carol gets a dose of the real world on growing pains. Then,
This case is now murder, right?
right, George Hamilton stars with Peter Falk in a Columbo movie special. Caution, murder can be hazardous to your health. Doogie Howser at a special time, Growing Pains, and all new Columbo. It's a killer thriller Wednesday.
It's the best of the blockbusters coming at you on video cassette. Die Hard 2 delivers white-knuckle action. It's the thrill machine of the summer.
It's what you expected. This is just the beginning.
When it comes to adventure, the sky's the limit. Die Harder on video cassette. Bruce Willis, Die Hard 2.
See if I'm right.
Rated R from CBS Fox Video.
Now available at Castle Video.
Get a Pizza Hut hoop set and bring home the fun.
In local sports, Mrs. Robin Clark won a close game of Pizza Hut hoops over her son Jeremy in the family kitchen. Let's go to the tape. Early in the game, Mrs. Clark was brilliant. This bank shut off the light, put her up by 10. Then Jeremy came back with a barrage of three-pointers from the sink. But at the buzzer, Mrs. Clark's driving 360. Yes, left young Jeremy flat on the floor.
Little one-on-one.
Now get a Pizza Hut hoop set for only $1.49 with any pizza you buy.
Pizza Hut, making it great.
Hell yeah. NBC's original Wednesday lineup is back. First, it's Unsolved Mysteries with a shocking, chilling radio confession.
You might have killed your girlfriend?
Yeah, I know I did. Then they're back together again. It's Night Court and Dear John, both all new, all original, and back-to-back. Then, Quantum Leap's back by popular demand, giving birth to the biggest leap ever.
Oh, yeah, Dr. Samuel.
Or is it? We'll deliver the original NBC Wednesday with Unsolved Mysteries, Night Court, Dear John, and Quantum Leap Wednesday.
MC Hammer, rap star and Pepsi drinker. Well, today, we secretly replaced his Pepsi with Coke. Let's see what happens.
Feelings, nothing more than feelings.
Emma!
Rob.
Welcome, everyone. I hope everybody's doing very well. Oh, my goodness. Happy Friday. Happy Friday the 13th. Yeah. We're going to have some fun tonight, folks. Because listen, dude. Listen. All right. I am the original tragedy pimp slayer. Okay? Now, finally, people are starting to get sick and tired of this shit. The people of Moscow, Idaho are speaking up, folks. This is the only thing that's been stopping that this is the only thing that's been lacking. The larger channels are finally starting to speak up on it. The mainstream media, more or less, just under the WFLAs and the Brian Entons and the what's her face from the Chris Watts days. I already forgot her name. Ashley Banfield. My bad. Sorry, Ashley. Like you'll ever see this, but at least they're starting to catch wind of this behavior and they're shining a light on it. And the people of Moscow are speaking up. They're speaking up against old Nancy Grace. I mean, just let's take a look at this real quick. let's just take a look at what we're talking about here. Now, I'm going to show the same picture that's in the thumbnail, but the thumbnail's altered slightly because I mean, Nancy, Bullhorn, they're about the same as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, we're seeing some interesting things. And I gotta give a shout out to Chronicles of the Shady. Chronicles of the Shady is one of my favorite clip channels, and Chronicles of the Shady has been pointing this stuff out. And I love it. I absolutely love it. Now, and that's okay if you like Nancy. It just doesn't change the fact that she is the queen tragedy pimp of all tragedy pimps. Sorry, but it's true. If you like Nancy, you like Nancy. I know a lot of people that I love that like Nancy Grace. I'm not here to sway your opinion. I'm here to give where it's due. That's all I'm here to do. I'm not trying to change your mind. You can feel however you want to feel about it. I know how I feel about it, and I'm going to use my platform to discuss how I feel about it. Because the facts are the facts, folks. And when you're looking at something like this, okay, when you're looking at a picture like this, okay, I mean, what is going on here? Yes, the caption that I put, what the strangler boobs is going on here, because she is absolutely pulling a Bullhorn Betty. I mean, she's decided to just post up. She's decided to just post up at like a potluck table and act like it's this professional desk and pose in front of a crime scene where 4 young people with an entire limitless future was ahead of them, and it was robbed from them in the most violent and most disgusting way, short of, luckily, there was no SA, but I mean, nevertheless, these 4 people were violently stabbed to death for absolutely no reason. So far, there's absolutely no reason. Talvish, thank you so much, buddy. Love the podcast. I call her Nancy Disgrace. Yeah, no, we're gonna have some fun with Nancy tonight. But I mean, she gets nothing from me now as far as any type of respect whatsoever. I mean, I've behaved more or less, short of, I show up in other people's chats that discuss her, and I speak my mind in those chats. I'm not gonna lie, but the fact that she jumps to conclusions. She creates and spins narratives, but for some reason it's okay because she's, you know, a Fox News correspondent or whatever the fuck, you know, and because I guess she was once an attorney, but it's okay for her to be unprofessional because she was once an attorney. So now it's okay for her to be unprofessional and jump to conclusions and spin narratives that people are guilty of a crime when they're not guilty of a crime. She's done this many times. And, or, you know, at least maybe not even outright saying it, but helping with that narrative, oh man, of course, now Annie Annie is like, she's saying, finally catching you live, driving home from LA and get to listen. PS Nancy, my girl, you effed up with this one, girl. Yeah, look at that. I mean, dude, if you got Annie to speak up, because let me tell you something, this has been the one consistent thing that her and I, since we became friends a couple of years ago, this has been the one consistent thing that we've always disagreed on. I've never liked Nancy Grace, and Annie is always, she's like, that's my girl. That's and we've always just been like, okay, fine, agree to disagree. I think she sucks. She's like, I think she's great. Awesome. But even Annie is now being like, dude, what in the shit am I looking at? You know, I mean, dude, let's just get real here. The lime sherbet colored gloves, fingerless, by the way, and some weird like MapQuest printout, like she's doing work. Like she's doing work. I find that shit hilarious. And let me scroll up to a more recent picture. And yeah, that's another thing. That's a whole nother subject right there. But this is another post by Chronicles of the Shady. And she left a link for an open letter to Nancy Grace. And apparently this was put up, and I don't know by who, because that's not photoshopped. You could just tell by the lighting. You can tell by, but that looks like the house. That looks like the house. So I mean, it's got the crime scene tape around it. So somebody who's allowed past that tape or got past the cops or whatever, or maybe one of the roommates, you know, put that sign up. Yeah. People, I don't know what else it's going to take to make people understand that this, you know, this true crime thing, man, it doesn't have to just be a genre. You know, it doesn't have to just be this thing that piques our interest. You know, the reason why it piques my interest, and I can be completely honest about this, the reason why it piques my interest is because I know that I live in a world where bad things happen, and the more time goes on, and the more the more that we evolve as a species, I believe that we are capable of evolving as a society as well. And I think that it's a great thing that this is the kind of thing that gets people's attention, that more and more people are not just looking at this as another tragic thing that you flip the page over and you move on and just forget about it throughout your day. More and more people are talking about this problem in our society where we just can't seem to get along with somebody well enough to not kill them. people who are no different than you or I in a lot of different ways. People who hold down jobs, people who have families, but who knows? Maybe they get greedy. Maybe they're just shitty people who put on this facade of wanting to have the perfect life. There's all these different factors that go into. I mean, if you follow true crime enough, there's all these different factors that go into why we follow these cases and why they pique our interest. But somewhere along the way, we got lost. We got lost and we got caught up in the dramatics of it all. We got caught up in these details of not so much I can't believe somebody would actually get to this point to as opposed to, well, that piece of shit cheated and that woman was greedy and she never wanted to have stepkids, and and just get involved in all of these people's personal lives. And I understand that to a certain degree that goes into wanting to understand them better. Sure, I get that. But at the end of the day, it's gotten to a point to where it's not even a question of trying to understand people better. It comes to, okay, well, how is this going to be more dramatic for me? How is this going to entertain me more? How is this one case, this actual real life thing that took place where somebody died, how is this going to entertain me more? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump to a conclusion and I'm going to play whodunit in my head, and I'm going to find out every single person that's around that person. I'll find out who they are. I'm going to type it in. I'm going to look into all their social media. I'm going to figure everything out about these people's personal lives. And then I'm going to decide, with my lack of experience in investigating, I'm going to point the finger at whoever I feel that deems fit to be having a finger pointed at them. And that's fucking crazy. That's insane crazy. And then what happens is if enough people are talking about it, and that narrative is spun enough to where it's trending on Twitter, it's in all of the Facebook groups, and then every fucking trash, fucking shitty little channel that just tragedy pimps is going to sit there and spin, and then they put it in question marks, so that they can't have any accountability for throwing accusations at people. So they go, is this person suspicious? And then it gets everybody thinking and gets everybody's gears, grinding. And then the next thing you know, this person has had their jobs called. This person has their family's jobs called, bombarded, personal lives turned upside down, can't walk down the street. Everything that's on social media now, all the people that know you on social media is now side-eyeing you because there's this narrative now that you could be a killer. And all you did was happen to be on somebody's fucking friends list or happen to follow a victim on social media. And for some reason, that became more important than actually empathizing with the victims' families, and the victims' loved ones and surroundings, their friends, and how this might be affecting them. Because every single one of you who wants sympathy because you lost somebody, because it happens all the time. I see it all the time. I see people, and every single person that talks about this in a chat or in a comment section who lost somebody important to them, well, they talk about it like it's the most important event of their life. So why is it so important that it's the most important event of your life, but you can't empathize with the person who you're sitting here throwing accusations at? I mean, Why? Because it's not as entertaining to be empathetic. And who's not, and I'm not trying to be a fucking party pooper here. You know what I mean? Like, there's ways that you can entertain yourself. I still find myself entertained, and I don't do unethical shit like that. But I still follow these cases, and I'm still perfectly entertained by it. But at the same time, I don't lose what's important. Is somebody fucking died, and a bunch of people lost somebody really, really important to them. Why is it so hard to have that in your mind at all times when you're following these cases? Why is that so difficult? And on such a mass fucking level. Like, you don't find that disheartening in some way? Like, if you as an individual, when you just sit there and think about that for a second, you don't find that disheartening? And it's right in front of your fucking face. It's you're part of this community. And you don't find it disheartening that on a mass level, this is how people are thinking? On a mass level, this is how people are just, consistently inconsiderate? Going down there and filming yourself. I mean, Nancy Grace might have been, she might as well as just posted up in front of that place going, you know what I mean? She might as well have been shooting selfies. It's the same shit. That house isn't a fucking tourist attraction. It's a crime scene where people died violently, tragically. Young people with an entire future in front of them. People who loved each other. I mean, it's so crazy to me. But finally, this stuff is being called out. And we're going to be here a minute. I got a full pot of coffee. So we're going to be here for a minute, guys. Now let me read you this, because I find this to be, and I only started reading this. I didn't even finish it. I wanted to share this with you guys. Now I can't see the chat because I'm going to be reading this, but this is entitled, this is from the website of 103.5 FM. 103.5 KISS FM. And this is written by somebody named Mateo. And it was published January 12th, 2023. Yesterday. And it goes as such. It's time to pack up and go home, Nancy. Idaho is over it, and frankly, we don't want you here. It's nothing personal. You've had a successful career. You're a household name, but Idaho is mourning, recovering, and we are so over your dramatized efforts. Why don't you understand, Nancy? Or I'm sorry, what you don't understand, Nancy, is that Moscow is a treasure in the state of Idaho. The University of Idaho community is one of the tightest knit communities in the entire state, and perhaps folks like yourself that have never been there or just learned how to pronounce it will never understand, but can't let this community mourn and come together. During the early hours of Sunday, November 13th, 2022, 4 innocent lives were taken. University of Idaho students that had bright futures, hundreds of friends, and a lifetime of memories ahead of them will never get to do that thanks to someone's selfishness, criminal and evil acts. Selfish, criminal, and evil acts. Nancy, you yourself have firsthand experience with murder and tragedy. Don't you understand that healing takes time, space, and community? It's time to be honest. You're helping with absolutely nothing. A suspect is in custody, and the case, quote unquote, is far from over. Your desires to shoot from the front of a house that has been a crime scene for over 2 months now is nothing more than clickbait, and there's nothing left for you to discover. After weeks of internet sleuth disrupting the lives of innocent community members, harassing victims, friends, families, teachers, and favorite businesses, you're here, pointing out the obvious in front of bright lights and big cameras for clicks, attention, and self-gain. We have nothing against the media or the coverage. In fact, in a time where the media is taking a beating more than any other time in recent history, law enforcement officials could not thank the media enough for their coverage once a suspect was in custody. Since the crime, media on both local and national scales have been covering the case, and as soon as the police found themselves asking for public help, the news, such as the search for a white Elantra, was everywhere. Nancy, pacing around the same house that has been the center of national attention for months, will bring nothing to the surface that hasn't already been discovered or shared. It isn't helping families heal. Your dramatized dubbing of Murder House, quote unquote, is not helping the community. And frankly, you're doing nothing to speed up the just due process owed to all parties involved in the criminal trial. It's time to take a hint. You aren't doing your job. You're making a scene that doesn't need to be made in a town that has a sense of community and love for one another that you may never be able to comprehend. Want to help Nancy? Pack up and leave and report on a case and report on this case in a helpful way when needed. Share stories of the love from friends and loved ones that cherish the legacy of the 4 innocent lives, and stop trying to paint a picture of crime that you have no insight or exclusive information about. We stand #Vandal strong and hope you will too by giving up the gimmick in our town. We hear Atlanta is beautiful this time of year. Wow. And then there's some images here of, I think that speaks volumes. I could not have said that better. I can't think of a way to have been able to say that better. So bravo to that person. I hope that the people of Moscow look at that and think that that's a great way to speak for them, for everybody there. Sinner 1977, thank you so much. Meanwhile, in Moscow, Friday the 13th keg parties are raging, and Nancy is the problem. I don't know. Wait. Okay, stop. Okay. These are college kids. There's somebody in custody for the first time since before Brian Kohberger was placed into custody. For the first time, that campus is at peace. Now, they're not completely at peace, okay? They're not completely at peace. There still has to be a trial and a conviction, okay? And I'm assuming there's going to be a trial based on what we know so far. But you're actually criticizing the people of Moscow, the students, the Vandal students, of having keggers on a Friday night after the threat to them has been put in custody. That's exactly what they should be doing, if you ask me, by the way. Every single one of those kids should be celebrating and having a good time. They should be enjoying these years, because Brian Kohberger does not get to terrorize those people beyond a jail cell. As far as I'm concerned, those kids should be raging, as you put it. So yeah, Nancy Grace is definitely the problem in comparison. So, and I appreciate the super chat, but I'm sorry, but a super chat does not give you immunity from my criticism of your comments if I very much disagree with them, and I very much disagree with that comment. Now, let's have a little fun. Got all the seriousness out of the way. The Mad Catter. Thank you. Is Nancy self-employed or does she have a contract boss? Wondering if this was her decision is all. I think that she has enough power to be able to speak up and say, I'm not doing that. You know what I mean? I mean, we're all accountable for our own actions. Nobody's going to give her an ultimatum like, hey, sit there, post up on a pie contest table in front of the crime scene of this crime, or get another job. You know, nobody's going to do that to her. She's got too much pull, you know. She looked way too interested to do that too. But it's a good question. It's a good question. I get what you're saying, but if we break it down and think about it, like, you know that she's the one that, she's a Karen around that set, wherever she is. Now, where is my coffee? Why is there sweet and low here on the table when all I use is equal? Why is there sweet and low? I want equal. Okay? Do you not know the difference between blue and pink? Blue, pink, blue, pink. I guarantee you she's a Karen in the like total prima donna. I guarantee it. I have no doubt in my mind.
You're doing business in an app-driven multi-cloud world. You want to build and run your apps on your choice of clouds, and you need to manage all those clouds as easily as one. With VMware cross-cloud services, you've got options. That's because VMware delivers the multi-cloud choice, security, and control you need to accelerate innovation, deliver great apps, and drive business forward. VMware, the smarter way to cloud. Learn more at vmware.com.
Have you ever been so enthralled with a podcast it stays with you long after the episode ends? There's an Apple TV Plus original series called Truth Be Told.
Okay, so we're gonna be listening to her podcast here. Somebody asked, would I consider covering the Anna Walsh case? My last live that I did, I talked a little bit about that. I just went over the basics of the case, but yeah, that case is kind of crazy. Let's be honest. That dude is guilty as fuck. Like, that's one of those cases that you'll rarely ever hear me go, oh my God. But yeah, that dude is fucking guilty. Like, this is one of those rare occasions where you'll hear me just straight up just be like, yep. Crispy Critters, thank you so much. I have changed how I look at things. Well, good for you. I did too. You know, like, I started off with canceled Karen. You know what I mean, people? Like, I'm not perfect. I started off with canceled Karen. I said some stupid shit regarding the Rue checks at the time because I thought the same way as everybody else. And then one day, it just hit me like a ton of bricks. I don't know what it was. It just fucking hit me like a ton of bricks. And then I just changed the way that I looked at it, and I decided to focus my content on people blaming victims and trashing victims and pointing fingers at victims. So I just, that really got to me at one point. It just happened out of nowhere. But I started off with canceled Karen, man. And I thought, she was just putting on a show and whatever, but in a way she is. But the problem with people like her is when they cover crime cases, they're looking for the controversial way to look at it. So therefore, in her own way, no matter what's going on, she's not thinking about the victims in any way, shape, or form. She's not thinking about justice for these victims in any way, shape, or form. She's just trying to figure out a way to rattle cages to get more views. And that's it. And she's aware that she's doing this. And she doesn't care who she hurts in the process, which is why I talk about her. that would explain pretty clearly why her and I are very much opposite ends of the spectrum here as far as this community goes.
Truth Be Told follows Poppy Scoville, a true crime podcast host who dives deep into her stories even after her mic stops recording. When several teen girls mysteriously vanish, Poppy vows to find them and bring the people responsible to justice. Featuring Academy Award winner Octavia Spencer, Gabrielle Union, and Mekhi Phifer. Truth Be Told. Stream the new season January 20 exclusively on Apple.
Why did she sound surprised that Mekhi Phifer was in there? Like, and Mekhi Phifer.
Apple TV Plus.
Say goodbye to crepey skin with America's #1 selling anti-aging body treatment system for dry, crepey skin, Crepe Ultra. Crepe Ultra is a must to keep your skin looking smoother, firmer, and younger. So love your smooth, soft skin again. As a bonus, get the new Ultra Smoothing Neck Repair for free, plus receive 25% off the deluxe kit. Free shipping and handling. Order now and get the fan favorite 4-in-1 line smoothing capsules absolutely free. Don't wait to get the skin you deserve. Head to crepeerase.com/iHeart today. That's CREPE erase.com/iHeart.
Crime Stories with Nancy Grace. We are live here in Moscow, Idaho, camped outside the so-called murder house where 4 beautiful young co-eds, 3 girls, 1 guy, lost their lives. And I've got to tell you, there is an eerie silence here. One thing I just noticed as I sat down at this fold-out table, beautiful young.
All right. Real quick, guys, quick update on the Athena Brownfield case. So there was an arrest made. The male caretaker of her was arrested today, finally. But I'm just now getting word from Annie that that Ivan, he is charged now with Athena's murder, and he admitted to it. So very, very sad. Unfortunately, now I want to be clear, guys. I talked about this case for the first time yesterday, and it's a very sad case. I would have to take, I'm getting a bunch of screenshots here. Now, Audrey Shearer, thank you so much. Yes, thank you, Annie. I appreciate that. And if you guys have been living under a rock, subscribe to Annie 10 to Life. She is fantastic. She's definitely one of the good guys. We won't hold the fact that she is a Nancy Grace fan against her here. But yeah, she's consistently been a friend of this channel, and I'm grateful to have her as a friend. And she just sent me a bunch of stuff. So while this plays, I'll email this stuff to myself. What I'll probably do is I'll probably just do another live stream with all of the information regarding Athena's case that we have available to us. I'll do a live stream tomorrow about that. And yeah, so very sad news that Athena is no longer with us. I have to be honest. As I stated to Annie when we were texting about it, I was saying that she agreed with me that we didn't think that law enforcement, the way things were looking, and I explained that in the live stream I did yesterday, it didn't look like law enforcement was looking for a missing little girl anymore, that they were investigating a crime, is what it came off as. And the words I used was that I was hopeful, but not optimistic. Yeah, so very sad news. And I'm just glad that the people responsible are being held accountable. I'm sure we're going to find out more details regarding this family dynamic, which I'm very confused about. And since we have a confession from this Ivan shitbag, I'm sure we're going to get a better idea of what the timeline actually was, which we never had, which is very, very strange. So not a lot of information on this case, but very, very infuriating. But like I said, I'm going to end up, I'm going to do another live stream on this tomorrow, and we'll discuss all of the details that are made available, at least all of the details and the information made available to the public as of then. So.
Young co-eds, 3 girls, 1 guy lost their lives. And I've got to tell you, there is an eerie silence here. One thing I just noticed as I sat down at this fold-out table, about 20 feet from me is an apartment complex, an apartment building right beside the murder house. And I can clearly...
Stop. So not only did she post up in front of the house for a photo opportunity, but she also was broadcasting this podcast or recording this podcast from in front of it. Like she's a DJ at a radio station working a concert. Tackiest shit ever. I mean, that's strangler bullhorn bullshit if I ever saw it in my life. Wow.
Hear an infant inside crying. My point is that the video cam, the security cam, about 50 feet away from the murder house appears to have caught whimpering, muted whimpering at the time we believe the murders occurred of those 4 students. And
okay, that was debunked. And the fact that, see, this is what I'm talking about. See, somebody of her caliber should vet the information that she spreads, because regardless, even whether or not, I mean, she didn't even sit here and go allegedly. She was like, the fucking thing caught whimpering when it was already debunked. So here she is right now in this recording, acting as though it's fact, doing exactly what Bullhorn Boob did with that recording, except short of playing it. But she's sitting here talking about the recording and saying that, talking about it as though it's fact. Yeah, totally overpaid BHB is what she is. Wow. And this is reaction, guys. I have not listened to this yet.
And from what I can tell now, that is entirely possible, if not overwhelmingly probable. I mean, I can hear everything that's happening right beside me. And out in the street, there's no question that security cam could have picked up any sounds, including a loud thud or a dog barking or whimpering. And speaking of whimpering, I've got an all-star panel. I'll introduce them as we go along. But to Cheryl McCollum joining me, forensic expert, founder of the Cold Case Research Institute, now star of Zone 7, a new hit podcast. Cheryl, when I hear that word whimpering, I can't get away from it. I cannot get away from one of those girls, or possibly Ethan, actually whimpering.
I mean, she's really selling that fucking bullshit recording, man. Like, she's really pushing that thing.
Whimpering after they've been stabbed.
Now,
you know, half awake, half asleep.
This is what I find amazing. This is January 12th. This is fucking yesterday. That recording was already debunked 2-3 days ago. So here she is still pushing this thing after Court TV had already debunked it. No, I understand that it's in the affidavit though, but she's sitting here saying that she heard it, that she can hear the whimpering.
Half asleep. I'm not really even sure they were all asleep, Cheryl, because one of them had just gotten DoorDash at 4 something. How could they be asleep? at the time of the murders, but I do believe they were in their beds. But the whimpering, Cheryl, it's awful. Whoa, wait, could you hear that? I can hear the baby, and it's further away from me than the murder house. So there's no question that security cam was picking up the sounds of them.
How fucking tasteless is it to call it the murder house? Like, how hard is it really? Like, just to have a simple, small amount of respect for these victims. Like me, you won't ever see me like post, and I don't think I've ever actually referred to these people as the Idaho 4. I just refuse to do it. I think it's completely and totally minimizing. I think I just won't do it. And I'm not trashing any of the other channels that have just used the term Idaho 4. I get it. It's something that just spread around. But I just couldn't do it. Me personally, I could not do it because it just seemed like it just minimized their existence to some degree. You know what I mean? Like it's so impersonal, and it just bugged me. So you won't catch any time that I talked about this case where I hashtagged Idaho 4. It's gross to me.
Of the murders. Go ahead, Cheryl.
Nancy, what it does to me is it allows the general public to hear this crime in progress, which normally we are not at all able to, witness that as an ear witness. And it's gonna be followed up by what the security camera says is also a thud. We're gonna know when this life ended in real time. And I think that's going to be critical in the future for a jury to understand this is not something off TV. This happened.
To everybody on the panel, you've all been to crime scenes, murder scenes, but I've only felt this feeling at a couple of murders in the past. It's very eerie here. It's quiet. I was saying earlier that it feels like you've gone into an empty church or you're out in a cemetery. There's just a very eerie feeling around the house. And it's just the way you described it. Joining me also is Chris.
Please tell me she's not inside the house, that she's not broadcasting from inside the house, because she sounds indoors right now. Like, is that what she's fucking doing?
Is Chris McDonough, director, Cold Case Foundation, former homicide detective, and star of The Interview Room on YouTube. I'm looking right over at the Sigma Chi house, and it's amazing to me. You warned me, Chris. I have circled this house on foot and in an SUV over and over and over. There is nowhere that you don't have a bird's eye view straight into their home, Chris McDonough.
Yeah. Nancy, and isn't that chilling just in of itself when you, as the way you describe how, the scene is so silent.
God, the tragedy pimping is real, bro. Like, you just listen to this guy's fucking voice, just kills me, dude.
Yes, I agree, Nancy. It's just chilling. It's just absolutely chilling.
Silent. It's almost as if the universe is frozen. That moment of this horrific crime. And I felt the same thing when I was there, right there on the same road with you. It is extremely, just unsettling, yet holy at the same time.
Another thing, when you said it was frozen in time, in the back, it looks like they've still got Christmas lights strung up. But another thing I noticed, and this...
Like, what are they, ghost hunters? Like, what are they doing? Is this still okay? Hold on. There we go.
And this is really interesting to me. David Leroy is with me. Guys, you know that name well. He's a high profile.
They're talking like they're ghost hunters. Like they're, oh my God, I could just feel how eerie it is here. Oh my goodness. Like, no wonder these people in Moscow are pissed off, dude. No fucking wonder they're pissed off.
lawyer out of Idaho. He's the former Idaho Attorney General and Lieutenant Governor, former prosecutor at dleroy.com. But what intrigues me the most is not just his legal prowess. He has been in this home many times. You know, David Leroy, Chris McDonough tried to warn me, but how easy it was, I could not really fathom how easy it was to see. I mean, these girls were like fish in a little fishbowl for the killer to spy on them, laughing, making breakfast, changing clothes, getting out of the bathtub or the shower, making out with their boyfriends. I mean, how many times do you think Koberger stood right behind this house and looked in? You know, there are trees right behind the house, David Leroy, but they're not thick at all. I can see straight through them. What would you say, Sydney? Maybe 7 or 8 trees, and they're tall and spindly. You can see straight through them. They might as well not even be there.
Well, the setting, as you have discovered, Nancy, is both somewhat intimate, a little offshoot of a...
What's really annoying to me is that this is like, she wouldn't have a job if there wasn't a demand for what she's doing. That's the point that I was trying to make earlier is, you know, like there's just a mass amount of Johns out there, tragedy fucking Johns, you know, like it's crazy. I mean, all she's doing is selling a product. She's selling a product that there's a demand for. Like, is she the problem? She's part of the problem, sure. But the real problem is the demand for what the fuck she's doing. She's sitting there because there's a bunch of fucking ghoulish assholes out there that fucking just want to hear how eerie it is inside the house. Like, think about that shit. There's literally millions of people out there that just want to know how fucking spooky it is inside the house. I mean, that's fucking twisted. That's so fucking twisted.
Of a road that almost dead ends halfway up a hill. It therefore is on a rim where you can look across the Sigma Chi house. But one thing that hasn't been particularly well detailed is across the street from the Sigma Chi house and behind the next hill is the administration building for the university, perhaps just a quarter of a mile as the crow would fly from that house. So it's isolated. It's halfway up a hill. It has these vistas and views, but it's really almost smack dab in the middle.
Was that justice? Thank you so much. I know you were against canceling these turds, but until they face money loss or being held accountable through the law, they won't stop. No, I agree with you. Well, what's happening, I mean, people are finally speaking up. Like the victims, or at least the people, I mean, and the people of this town, they're victims. The people of the people of Rogersville, Tennessee, were victims. This is what people aren't understanding. Is that what it fucking takes? Is for Nancy Grace to show up? For people to fucking get sick and tired of it and get pissed off that their town is being treated like some sort of sideshow attraction? You know what I'm saying? Like I don't see. I mean, the people of Rogersville, Tennessee had to put up with MGL, BHB, JLR, and Chronicles of Oblivious screaming through a bullhorn in a residential neighborhood in front of a building, the wrong building, going into businesses, bothering people while they're at work, asking them questions that you know that they can't answer, so that they could say, hey, I was here and I bothered these people at work. You know? But it's so sad that it takes Nancy Grace doing basically the same thing. Is she yelling through a bullhorn? No. But she's broadcasting in front of millions of people, in front of a house, a crime scene where Kids lost their lives. I mean, what is the difference? Really, like, what is the difference?
The middle of the campus itself.
Guys, another thing we learned last night. We got in an SUV, and the SUV was taken from the murder scene all the way back to Koberger's Pullman home. And I want to tell you what we learned. He didn't go straight home. I think he was trying to throw off LE, law enforcement. What should have been a 9 to 15 minute drive turned out to be an hour drive. It reminds me a lot of Murdaugh on his rural route when he got shot in the head and lied about it. Remember, he claimed he took this long, circuitous route from A to B. When it would have been about an 11-minute drive, he chose to make a 45-minute drive so he wouldn't be seen when he had himself shot in the head as an alibi of sorts. But long story short, this route taken in the middle of the night, that's when we took the route in the pitch dark. It's very sparse. It's a real no man's land. He could have thrown that knife anywhere. It does not get even close to the Snake River. So I don't believe the knife is in the Snake River.
See, this is an interesting comment. Steenie Bean asks, has she apologized? She has not, but would it really make a difference if she did now? I mean, would she be apologizing if she wasn't getting trashed all over Twitter? You know what I mean? Like, the only valid apology that would take place is if she completely and totally changed her approach to talking about these cases. That's the only valid apology that she could ever have. She would have to apologize with her actions and say, you know what? I've been going about this the wrong way, and I have not been putting the victims and their families and the loved ones, I have not been putting them as my first priority. And I'm going to start doing that from now on. And then she starts doing it. If she started to do that, I'd become a fan of her. You know how much humility it would take to do that? To completely and totally revamp her entire approach to talking about cases. But here's the thing. That's not going to be what decides that. What's going to decide that is if she feels and her producers feel that she is already losing too much money. She's losing too much viewership by doing what she's doing. If she's on the verge of being canceled, that's her only chance that's the only chance that she'll ever change. Because if it's still selling, she has no reason to. Because she's up here, make no mistake, doing this for the money. This is a job for her. Now, for a lot of us on YouTube, it's not a job to us. You know what I mean? For a lot of us, it's something that piques our interest and we want to talk about it. We want to try to understand it. We have a discussion, you know? For a lot of us on YouTube, that's the case. But for her, this is her career. This is what she's doing with her life now. Okay. She's no longer an attorney. So now what she does is she adds commentary. She has a podcast. She adds commentary as a panelist on certain platforms like Fox News or whatever. But until that happens, you're not going to see any change come from her. That's not going to happen.
But there were some homes, but no traffic. We passed about 2 or 3 cars the whole hour. Pitch dark, no street lights, which is common in the country. But he could have done anything he wanted with that knife. Now, this is what I want to throw to you guys. Do you believe, as I do,
we are 9 minutes and 50 seconds into this podcast? She has not mentioned one victim's full name yet. Not once. She has not given any respect to any of the victims in any way, shape, or form as of yet.
that if LE, law enforcement, looks at the records long enough, they will catch him with his cell phone plotting that route, practicing that route. What do you think, Cheryl McCollum?
Nancy, I think he's going to have maps on the wall inside his apartment. I think not only is it on his phone and on his computer, I literally think he has pinpointed and charted this thing out where he can look at it every day.
You know, you said interesting, and I don't know if you meant it the way I took it, to look at it every day.
You see, she's not even like disputing that in the slightest bit. That's so far-fetched. Like, that caller is clearly somebody who who watches way too many movies and sees the perpetrator in a dramatic scene with a shrine on their wall with a map and everything and planning everything meticulously. And Nancy is just like, oh, that's good. She's just piggybacking off of that, like, because it's more dramatic.
Cheryl, you know what I carry with me all the time? My dad's shirt. And I look at it every morning when I wake up. I look at it at night before I go to sleep. I miss him so much. It's something that I love.
Oh my God.
Because it's part of him. Did you hear what she said, Dr. Angela Arnold? I don't know if she meant it this way.
Literally no fucking different than any grifting fucking channel that does what she does. This is insane. I've never actually listened to a podcast of hers, and now I'm listening to it and I'm seeing that this is what these fucking tragedy pimp YouTubers do, the same shit. They sad fish and then they get mad, and then, you know, everything is an emotional roller coaster in how they deliver the information. I keep my dad's shirt with me. Don't forget that I also am a victim. Like, okay, we all know that. You don't need to like
this way. With me is Dr. Angie Arnold, renowned psychiatrist out of the Atlanta jurisdiction. You can find her at angelaarnoldmd.com. She said he looks at it all the time. All the time. As a memento, like I would look at a scrapbook of the twins growing up, their first grade, their christening, their first Christmas. Explain that. Why would he want to look at the map?
Nancy, to me, more than a memento, it's an obsession. He's obsessing over what he's going to do. He's got these.
You see what they're doing? They're talking about this fictional map that doesn't exist, by the way, or at least we don't know that it does. But she's talking about it like she has some sort of inside information, because you would only find that map either in his apartment, his parents' house, or in his car, right? There's nothing about. I mean, the only evidence that we've been made aware of is what's been found at the house and via his cell phone, right? So here she is talking about a map, and then she's sitting here building off of that, like as if it's a real thing, as if she has some sort of inside information that there's a map that he's looking over. Like, this is the worst of the worst as far as spreading misinformation.
These obsessive thoughts, they're very bad thoughts that go through his head. And so he's plotting this out.
Okay, I'm looking for a little more from you, Dr. Angie, not very bad thoughts. I mean, I can say that. You're the psychiatrist.
He's got incongruent thoughts in his head about murder, about murdering someone.
I wonder if she
and
actually
it just
said
so
that
happens that these people are the target of who he is set out to murder at this particular time in his life.
Okay, so the psychiatrist that's on panel with her claims that there's a map that Brian Kohberger would obsessively look over, and then plot these murders in his mind. This is her I mean, this lady holds as much water to me as a mental health professional as Chris M's commentary as a former law enforcement agent rings with me. Just because he is that, he's not doing anything that any responsible law enforcement, he's not respecting the investigation or the integrity of it. He does nothing of the sort. And people are like, well, he gets a pass because he's former law enforcement. Wrong. No, he is to be held at a higher standard because he is law enforcement. He is to be holding and setting the example and expressing the example of how we should be looking at these cases instead of messing with the integrity of these investigations. The Voodoo Lounge, welcome. I mean, it's killing me, dude, like how unprofessional this shit is.
You're doing business in an app-driven multi-cloud world. You want to build and run your apps on your choice of clouds, and you need to manage all those clouds as easily as one.
We got to listen to the commercials.
With VMware cross-cloud services, you've got options.
Or maybe I can fast
That's because
Yeah, I can.
Big thank you to our partner, Grand Canyon University. With everything you have on your sport you need
for alcohol. In this case, we had none of that. But I'm just wondering, I think about those questionnaires he sent to felons, like, what were you thinking?
With Nancy Grace.
You know, we look for a motive, even though the state doesn't have to prove a motive ever in any case. But a jury likes to hear, what's the motive? Why would the person do this? Well, you've got to rape somebody. You've got to steal something. You've got anger. You've got drugs or alcohol.
Okay. Becky G, thank you so much. NG is a millionaire. Nancy Grace is a millionaire. If you can live comfortably, don't live off dead people in this manner. No one should, but especially millionaires. Right. I mean, it's just pure greed. That's clearly, I mean, if we're looking for a motive, if we're accusing her of a moral crime, you know, since this is true crime or real crime, if we're accusing her of a moral crime, well, what's her motive? Fucking money. What else is there? Someone in her position. And you know, I'm all about capitalism. That's fine, man. She can make all the money she wants. I'm not hating on her for making money, but do you have to do it in such an unethical and unscrupulous way? Seriously, like how shitty are you?
Alcohol. In this case, we had none of that. But I'm just wondering, I think about those questionnaires he sent to felons, like, what were you thinking? What was going through your mind? What were you feeling when you committed that murder, when you raped that lady? What were you thinking?
Nancy,
I would never even imagine asking a perp something like that. But I really think that's Chris. Listen to this theory and you can shoot it down if you feel like it. But what about this? That when the questionnaires wouldn't do it for him anymore, he tried to get on with a police department, hoping to see crime scenes. When that fell through, he finally acted on his impulses, on his obsession. Go ahead.
We used to say in homicide, knowledge is having the correct answer. Intelligence is asking the right question. And this guy, to your point,
I love how he's justifying his fucking irresponsible speculations right there, calling it intelligence. That's the same shit canceled Karen would call it critical thinking.
Got to a point where there was something that had built up. And, you know, when you start paying attention to the detail, like we're talking here, then the big picture will start taking care of itself. The pre-planning, all of the movements he was making, you know, prior to the incident, the incident itself and the post-incident, all of those behavior patterns established with all of the evidence will paint the big picture of who this guy really is.
Nancy, back on the big picture.
Go ahead, David Leroy.
Those three roadways are important, the directions they go and what they are to your...
Hi, Nancy. I'm here to state the absolute fucking obvious and sound like I'm an expert. I'm here to state the absolute obvious. Like, the more and more information that we get on this guy, the more we're going to see a motive. Genius thinking, by the way. Just so you know, because I said it, it's called intelligence.
observation about and in relation to this big picture. Two of them are major highways into and out of Moscow and Pullman. And the one that is most significant is the back road that you were talking about that has literally almost no population going through rolling hills and wheat fields. The first road he took was a major highway south to Lewiston, Idaho, and that would suggest, were he to be followed, that he was interested in being in Lewiston or going to Lewiston, but it is exactly away from Pullman, Washington. The road that he ended up on going back to Pullman was a major highway going from south to north that would indicate somebody on it had no relationship to Moscow. And what he did to tie those two things together, neither one of which suggests any relationship to Pullman, is to cross between those two highways on this rural agricultural back road that spans some 6 or 7 or 8 miles. And so the idea here was to leave town, going away from Pullman, to come back to town, not having any relationship to having been in Moscow, and to obscure those two directions by this back road where he would run into nobody. That's the importance of this 3-road connection.
Hey, Nancy, I got to jump back in here real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so when I said he would be staring at it, I meant that. That's why he literally, I believe, put things on the wall. Remember when you took the twins across the country? How long did you spend looking at national parks and state parks and places to stay and roadside attractions to show them? For the past 4 months, this is all he has done. We know of 12 times he visited before the murders. We know of at least 4 he visited the day of the murders. One very significant thing about this guy, Ted Bundy, worked at Rape Crisis so he could hear from the victims because that's what got him off. This guy wanted to hear from perpetrators. That's where his mind is because that's how he sees himself.
That's a solid point, Cheryl.
You know, I'm just thinking about how the cops tore apart his apartment. And I'm wondering, we know he is extremely fastidious. Did he keep written notes? Did he plan in writing? Did he have a list on his computer?
Okay.
I wonder what.
Now, here's the thing. This is these people that are like talking like, okay, the guy slipped up in 2 ways that we know of. Okay, fair enough. Now, and I get the whole, everybody's like, well, for a guy who's studying to be, who's studying to get a PhD in criminology, well, he made some stupid mistakes. Granted, he kind of did, but really, like, it's not like there's any indication that he didn't wear gloves or anything like that. They found his DNA, like, who knows? It could be the most minuscule, somebody, a law enforcement agent, a detective probably just simply had the foresight. This guy probably wore gloves, but let's look at the places where he might not have been wearing a glove every single time he touched it. And we'll check this little button snap on the sheath of this knife, on the sheath of a knife. We'll check the button snap to see if he left any DNA. See, that's the thing is people are like, oh my God, he's so stupid. He might as well have just left a blueprint for law enforcement to catch him in with all this proof. Well, in a way that he did, he fucked up with his with the cell phone and didn't leave it behind or turn it off when he should have turned it off. But the fact is law enforcement is going to do their job is to find mistakes. Okay. It's not necessarily like, okay, well, this guy's just a fucking idiot and he's screwed up because he's just stupid. No, law enforcement's job, detectives' jobs are to find the smallest, most minor mistakes. Try to think the way that this guy does and look in places where he might slip up. That's their job. So to sit here and talk about this guy because he left some DNA and because he didn't have the foresight to turn off his fucking phone, to talk about him like he has this mountain of evidence back at his apartment. Now, he might have some evidence. I'm pretty sure they found something. I guarantee that that's not all the evidence. The evidence in the probable cause affidavit, I guarantee you, is not all the evidence they have against him. But I'm saying, I seriously doubt that this guy had a fucking map with everybody's pictures fucking posted on the map, and and writing in a handbook the way that Nancy Grace. I wonder if he kept notes and blah blah blah. This guy is a smart guy. He's not Joel Guy Jr. Okay, he's not a fucking moron. So to just immediately jump to the conclusion that the guy's stupid is ridiculous. I wonder if he had a notebook.
What he bought when he went to Albertsons, which I think isn't Albertsons a grocery store, guys? He went to an Albertsons. I'm wondering what he got there right after the murders, after he came back and looked at the...
Probably cleaning products, probably things to get rid of evidence.
To the crimes.
Not a notebook to he didn't buy a notebook. Like, oh my God, I just committed a crime and I'm trying to get away with it. Let me jot that down. These people have no interest in any common sense at all. They're just spitballing bullshit. It's ridiculous. They're not even brainstorming in the slightest bit. They're just spitballing madness. Like, yeah, he must have went to Albertsons and picked up a journal.
Crime scene again, and we catch criminals coming back to the scene so often. I mean, think of Scott Peterson. Remember how he would go to the edge of a scenic vista and look out on the San Francisco Bay? I guess what was he looking to see if Lacey's body had popped up in the water? But it's almost instinctual. I'm just hoping the cops can get him practicing that route on his cell phone. Very circuitous route. When we drove it last night, pitch dark, everybody. Point is, you got to know where you're going. A lot of twists and turns on that route. And I guarantee you, just knowing him, as much as we know him now.
Right. Because anybody who has never driven down that road and drives down that road is going to crash. You have to know the road because there's so many twists and turns. You have to know the road. Unreal, bro.
After seeing him, after hearing about him cleaning out his car so meticulously, wearing gloves even after the incident, you know he planned this out and he had to leave a trail. But can we find the trail? Also, we know that in a few short hours.
How did you come to that? Okay, he planned this meticulously. Okay, people, pay attention. All right, he planned this meticulously, so he had to leave a trail. We just got to find that trail. Why does Nancy Grace always look like she's smelling a fart, dude? I'm telling you, we got to find that trail, people. If he planned this meticulously, he must have left a mountain of evidence behind. Lady's an idiot, dude.
For hours. There's going to be what is called a status hearing. It's going to be Thursday morning. Straight out to you, David Leroy. In this jurisdiction, what is a status hearing?
A status hearing before the magistrate early on in a felony case, before a preliminary hearing is had, will simply be a scheduling conference at which probably two things will come up. Number one, the judge will be asking the defense if they are ready to or wish to have their preliminary hearing at which the prosecution would be required to call witnesses and produce evidence to show a belief to a probable cause. The status hearing principally will be called to show the defense the opportunity. I'm going to start again here, Nancy. The defense will have an opportunity at this status hearing to indicate to the judge whether they wish to go forward with the probable cause hearing called a preliminary hearing immediately or delay that. That will be the first issue that is considered. The second issue will likely be a discussion about whether discovery, the exchange of police reports and other materials back and forth from the prosecutor to the defense, and the defense's response to it is going adequately and smooth. So it's essentially a scheduling conference.
Okay. You know what? Another thing, you hear about status conferences typically in
like,
civil cases
boring.
where the judge is saying, okay, you had a car wreck. Are you going to settle, or do I need to put this on a trial calendar? Can't you people get along talking to the lawyers, not the parties? Trust me. Can't you come up with something so we don't have to go to trial? That's how I view status conferences in this case, which of course is not civil, it's criminal. Just as David Leroy is describing, it's kind of an update. How are we moving along? Do you need experts paid for by the state? Do you need other people on your team? Also, when it comes to a preliminary hearing, I would imagine that the state would opt for a grand jury proceeding rather than put their witnesses up on the stand for the defense to get a first strike, take a whack at them before the jury trial. So I'm thinking that the state will opt with a grand jury as opposed to a preliminary hearing. As we wait for that status hearing to start, also, we're wondering if Brian Kohberger will be at the status hearing. And I can guarantee you, I believe he will.
Who cares?
Why? Is there anything important really going on? No, there's not. It's just a scheduling matter. But if they don't bring the defendant in, he could later claim he missed something important and his constitutional rights were violated. And we've also learned the jail here is in the courthouse.
Yeah,
so why not just shuttle him up the elevator?
It's not necessarily true. He has counsel. And unless his counsel, see what I'm saying? Like, even I know this. Like, he has counsel. Like if his counsel tells him, hey, you don't need to be here, right? And the judge says, hey, you don't need to be here, and he waives his right to be there, he can't claim later on, well, I wasn't there. I didn't have any say over this. Well, you waived your right to be there. It's common sense. I'm not an attorney, but what she's talking about is just like, oh my God, he may claim that his rights were violated. I don't see how he could do that if he's waiving his right to be there. That's included in the risk of waiving your right to be there, I would assume, right?
Elevator and get him in there for that status hearing, whether he needs to be there or not. Cross your T's, dot your I's. Nobody means to make a mistake, but it happens in criminal cases. And once it's happened, it can actually change the course of the investigation and the trial. A lot is going.
Nobody means to make mistakes. I don't know about y'all, man, but I fucking make mistakes on purpose all the fucking time. Thank you for that insight, Nancy Grace.
Is going down. I want to take some calls from our viewers and emails, all of their questions. Here's a good one. Take a listen to this, guys. This is from Bambi. Interested in the DoorDash delivery person. Did they drop the food off at the door, or did someone get it from them? Was the delivery person interviewed by police to see if, hey, police.
Hi, how are you?
Glad to see you, Moscow police. Glad to see you.
Thank you.
And I want to tell you, they have been patrolling this area nonstop.
Cops are like, yeah, fucking, yeah, great to see you too, asshole.
You would be surprised at all of the rubberneckers that are just coming by to stare at the house. It's a little freaky. Right. But of course, maybe they're trying to figure something out, just like we are. Okay, back to Bambi.
Oh.
Was a delivery person interviewed by police to see if they noticed the killer's car?
I'm sitting here, not doing anything productive in the fucking house. And you would be surprised at all the rubberneckers that are coming by here just to get a glimpse. For what? I don't understand. I guess maybe the same bullshit that we're doing here. I don't know. Maybe the same dumb bullshit, because we're up here doing jack shit. Not a goddamn thing that's actually in the slightest bit productive in this case.
Or anything else that happened that night. Okay, that leads me to another question. Sydney, you would know the answer to this probably. Don't DoorDash cars have a camera Oh, not necessarily. I was thinking more about Ubers or Lyfts. They always have a camera.
No, they don't always have cameras.
May or may not have a camera. Okay, let's go with this question. DoorDash delivery person. Okay, you guys are very familiar with the timeline. What do you make of the DoorDash delivery so close to the time of the murder, Cheryl McCollum?
I think it very well may have been his opening. If he was in the watch area and he saw maybe she opened the door and just closed it right back, she didn't maybe engage the lock.
Fucking DoorDash. Quinn B, thank you. Your imitation of Nancy Grace the other day about her lime sherbet gloves literally made me spit my drink out. It is now on repeat in my queue. Good, I'm glad. Thank you. I'm glad. I'm glad you're enjoying it. This DoorDash bullshit. Of course, the psychiatrist lady is going to say, well, it must have been an opening for him. He must have just had an opening. You know, he used the DoorDash. How the fuck's he going to know about the DoorDash? First of all, I mean, but the thing is thinking too deep into the DoorDash, dude, these people just got fucking home from partying. It makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense that they would order food. Dude, you never had fucking drunk munchies? Are you kidding? Like, it's almost weird that somebody didn't order DoorDash. It's almost weird that somebody didn't. College kids with a little bit of extra money to fucking spend, fuck that. I'm not driving nowhere. I'm fucked up. I'm going to get some fucking Jack in the Box. Hell yeah. Like, it's almost weird that they didn't get DoorDash.
That gave him his literal entry into the home.
You know, here's a good question from Jennifer. And guys, everybody on the panel, jump in if you have a thought. Jennifer, we know he spent a lot of time scoping the house prior to that night. We know it was a party house. When I was in college, I lived in a party house. We never questioned strangers who stopped in. We always thought they were just friends of friends. I wonder if he ever drove by when there was a party and actually went in. Wow. Okay, this guy was socially awkward, but he also tried to...
All of this is just pure speculation. And it coming from her, people take that shit as gospel, dude. You know? Like, that's the problem. And I agree that it's on you. You know what I mean? Like, if you take what she just said as Brian went into the house during a party, well, then that's on you because she didn't actually say that. But I mean, at least disclaimers, you know, at least like, listen, I don't have any facts on this case. You know, this is just the stuff that I know that a lot of us think about. And, you know, I understand that, but she doesn't do anything of the sort. She comes off like the shit that she's saying is fucking gospel. It's super irresponsible.
Make friends with people. And in fact, some of his neighbors would try to get away from him because he wanted to talk so much. Who was that? Was that Chris McDonough or David Leroy?
That was Chris, Nancy.
Jump in. Go ahead.
You know, with this guy's ego, that would not surprise me if he tried to, you know, blend into a party scene.
Oh, you mean like James Bond going into the casino, acting all natural, like he's really gambling?
Yeah.
Got it. I could see that too, now that you're saying it that way.
Yeah.
And really getting off on it. What about that, Cheryl? I'm going to come back to you, Chris. Can't you see him trying to blend into a party?
I have a 19-year-old girl, and there is no way a almost 30-year-old man would blend into a party she was at. He would stick out like a sore thumb.
I actually agree with her. Like, but the thing is, though, it's a college party. Like, somebody who's in their late 20s is not going to stick out necessarily like a sore thumb. Like, he might be noticeable, you know what I mean? But you got to think that everybody in that house was over 20, 21 years old. You know, like, everybody there was old enough to drink. You know, like, is it so crazy that somebody, you know, who lives in that town might know somebody who that they brought him to the party? I mean, you wouldn't think much of it. If there's a shit ton of people in that house, you're not going to all of a sudden get suspicious that there's a dude who looks slightly a little older. Like, because he still looked young, You know what I mean? Some people look older than they actually are. You know what I mean? You're not going to all of a sudden find him being in that house or at a party suspicious necessarily. You're just not. I mean, if he's wearing the same kind of clothes that everybody else is kind of wearing, yeah, he's going to blend in, you know? I mean, especially if everybody's fucking turned. You know what I mean? Like if everybody's just having a good time and they're on God knows what, plus they're drinking.
Well, I know that, and you know that.
But other party goers would have come forward by now.
I'm going to give you a classic quote from Caddyshack.
That's actually a good point too. I could see that in theory that she's saying that some, some party goers may have come forward. First of all, we don't know whether or not they did. So it's quite possible that they have a witness that can place them at the house. All we have is what's in the preliminary affidavit. All we have is what's in the probable cause affidavit. That's all we have. So we don't know what other evidence they have. We don't know what other witnesses they have. We don't know any of that shit. So for her to say one of those party goers would have came forward by now, well, maybe they didn't come forward to the public because they didn't want to fuck up the investigation, because they actually care about getting justice, not like you assholes on this panel, but they actually care about getting justice. So they probably only talked to law enforcement, and law enforcement probably told them, don't talk to anybody else because we're going to need you to testify. And then they probably said, okay, and then actually did what law enforcement recommended that they do. Crazy.
If you want to catch a varmint, you got to think like a varmint. This guy was so obsessed with this house and these girls. Back to you, Chris McDonough. Can't you see him trying to get closer and closer and closer to the interior of that home?
Absolutely. And look what he used to do in the bars, where he would project himself as some ladies' man. And of course, the radar would go up with the women. It was like, this guy's just an oddball here. I could see him trying to blend in as a chameleon into the college environment. Now, would he fit? No, of course not. But his ego will not stop him from trying.
I'm trying to take in everything you guys are saying. From JYL, what do you think about the fact he told the defense attorney in Pennsylvania, hello, police again, that he was, quote, eager to be exonerated? Hey, Jackie, could you play the sound of the lawyer to answer JYL's question? I want to examine that. The sound that we talked about where the lawyer is stating verbatim what Kohberger told him. Let's hear that, Jack. Thanks.
Jason LaBar says he first met.
What's that, Justice? Thank you so much. They act like he's the Red Dragon keeping a scrapbook and following some plot in a mystery novel. They have no idea and we won't until the trial. Sad. Exactly. Like at this point, and I'm really glad that you made this point, was that, Justice? And thank you so much. At this point, everybody that is clicking or is hashtagging this dude's name, and I mean, you're not doing anything. You're not going over anything valid, because we have all the information made available to us that's already credible. No information that comes forward between the time the gag order is, or the last time that law enforcement made a public statement, between the time that law enforcement made a public statement last and the trial, none of this information is verifiable that comes out. None of it. No recordings, no rumors. None of that shit is verifiable at this point. So basically, Nancy Grace here on the 12th, yesterday, is basically just milking this because people are talking about it. Like Chris McDonough too. I mean, these people have no tact at all.
first met his client at the Monroe County Correctional Facility.
Ordinary, average type guy.
He says the first thing he said to the suspect was, "Don't tell me anything about the case. Don't tell me any facts. That's information for your Idaho attorney."
He was very calm. He was aware of what was going on. He was aware of the murders.
He says his client was intentional about what was said on his behalf in the statement to the public.
The statement that was written by myself in my office, but the exonerated, the eager to be exonerated was his. He specifically said eager to be exonerated rather than he was innocent or something like that.
Did you hear his words, Kohberger's words through?
Becky G, thank you so much. You must be single, Will. If you had a significant other, your coffee pot would be sparkling. Look at those sleuthing skills you got there, Becky G. Very, very good. And somebody just sent me a Cash App. Robert, that's all I'm going to say. I don't know. I don't like to give people's full names, because their YouTube handle might be very different from the name that they have through Cash App. So, Robert, thank you for the Cash App. I appreciate it.
Through his lawyer, I'm eager to be exonerated. As opposed to, I didn't do this. I had nothing to do with this. I'm eager to be exonerated. What do you make of that, guys? Let's go to our shrink, Dr. Angela Arnold, psychiatrist out of Atlanta. What do you make of that wording?
It's like he lives above the fray. It's like he's got some sort of grandiosity to him. And I'll tell y'all something. I know that we're trying to say that somehow he was attached to these girls, that he.
No, man. Eager to be exonerated just means that this dude is going to say the most likely thing that somebody who wants to convince others that he's innocent is going to say. Doesn't mean that he necessarily believes it and he sees himself above everything else. Now, do I think that he does? Yeah, but that statement doesn't indicate that necessarily. That statement is just basically, okay, well, I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm guilty to the public because a jury might see that shit. I've got words. Thank you so much. This Penn attorney, still an agent to the case, according to the gag order, is spilling attorney-client privileged information. Yeah, okay. That's one way to look at it. Sure. I don't know if that's the case, but yeah, that it seems like it could be.
That he killed. I don't see that there was an attachment that he had. It was something that he wanted to carry out.
It's like an experiment, Dr. Angie.
Excuse me?
It's like one of his freaky experiments, like those questionnaires he would send to felons.
He has no remorse about it. This is an action that he wanted to carry out, okay? If psychopaths don't have any strong inhibitions about physically injuring other people, then I can promise you they don't have any inhibitions about walking into a party house and trying to make themselves comfortable in there. They think differently than other people do. And I know that is very hard to understand. But
so now this lady is like, okay, so make up your mind, psychiatrist lady from Atlanta. Like, was he trying to blend in the party house or was he not? You just sat here and said somebody would have came forward, blah, 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 blah. But now you're talking like, oh, somebody of his sick mind would absolutely blend in with a part. Like, can you come up with some fucking theory based on, you're the mental health professional. Can you come up with some fucking theory that doesn't fucking teeter-tot? Seriously.
But this man is a psychopath all day long, and he thinks differently than we do, and that's why.
Now, first of all, have you ever sat down, mental health professional lady? Have you ever sat down with this person? Okay, have you reviewed all of the evidence? Because these are valid questions. If you're sitting here and you're saying you're diagnosing this dude, he is a psychopath all day long. Okay, do you have that? Did you sit down with him and evaluate him? Did you observe him for 72 hours and his behavior? I mean, like, where are you getting this diagnosis from? Exactly. Curious. Crimezilla, thank you so much. 10 to Life is amazing. Long-time watcher of your channel, just a lurker. Well, not anymore. Haha, Crimezilla. Thank you. Appreciate it.
That's why it's hard for us to pinpoint exactly how he was thinking through all of this.
Here's a question from Corey. How dark is the surrounding area near the house at night? Corey, it's pitch black. It is pitch black. And inside, hey, Sydney, is that bottom, guys, is that bottom light on the right?
Was there an extra echo when she said that? It is pitch black, black. So dramatic, Nancy. So dramatic.
On the home, still turned on. Because when we drove up in the dark this morning, we were really early getting here.
And do you know, Nancy, down at the bottom?
A light is on the bottom right.
It was on this morning. It's not on.
It doesn't look like it's on.
This lady doesn't let any of her panelists talk either. And I'm glad, like, I don't know if I'd rather hear her or Chris McDipshit. Like, I don't know, but I guess I'll take one or the other, both of them. Yeah, I'll take one or the other. That's fine.
It's on now, but I know nobody's going in that house. But it was on this morning. It appears to be off now. Hold on, Chris McDonough. I think that was you. Can I tell you, it's so dark, Corey, that when the inside of the home is lit up, you can see everything. I tried to take pictures of it and post so everybody could see, but it's like you're watching a movie where you're in the dark and the movie's in the light. That's how the dark works around this home. It seems as if it illuminates the inside of the home. That's from Corey. Go ahead, Chris.
Nancy, right where you're standing there, the apartment complex, up at the top.
Yeah.
Up there, that light, that was not working the night of the incident. That light was out.
So it would have been even darker.
It was darker.
And another thing to Corey, who sent me this question, I was sitting right here last night and I can look across the street. It's so tight here. The street.
What is the purpose of them discussing how fucking dark it was? First of all, they don't know how dark it was inside the home. I mean, if you don't have lights on, okay, sure. Yeah, it's probably dark. Like any fucking house at night, by the way. It's dark. Sure. But the whole purpose behind her sitting there doing that right now is just to create some sort of dramatic effect, to make it seem like a spooky haunted house. Ooh, oh my God. Because if it's dark in your house, there could be a killer waiting. Like, get real, lady. You know how fucking shitty that is? Because, I mean, you're sitting here talking like the whole house is dark. Like, you don't know how fucking dark the house was that night. You don't know who had lights on in their bedrooms. You don't know if there was a hall light on. You don't know if the family room light was on and it shined enough light into the hallway to where the person could see themselves going through. You don't know anything. Jack shit. But it was so dark.
Streets are so narrow. This must be a really old area of town because the apartments look very old. I can sit right here and look, and I can tell you what kind of soda can they have on their ledge right there. I can see what the guy was cooking for dinner right in that window. And I just wonder, another person asked, how long had he been watching and stalking the girls? Did you catch in the probable cause affidavit, David Leroy? David Leroy joining me, high-profile lawyer out of Boise, Idaho. This is his neck of the woods. The cop said at least 12 times we've got him at the murder house.
Well, that certainly would be no accident. You don't show up at that particular locale without an intent to be in the neighborhood. And if that's the case, and if it's visible as is indicated, obviously many things were seen and many things were available to be seen.
I'm saying the at least caught my attention, Cheryl McCollum, which tells me that he was here many, many more times than 12.
They only gave enough in that affidavit to arrest him. They have got so much more information.
Crimezilla, thank you so much. I have followed Nancy Grace for years. I'm shocked she is on site there for ratings. I hate to say it, but I'm not shocked. This is the type of person that I've always seen her as. It's just now she is doing it on a case that is very, very high profile. The whole country, if not, many parts of the world on top of that are talking about this. And it's just a question of finally people seeing her for what she is and what she does. This is a person who does not care about victims in any way, shape, or form, because her actions show that she doesn't. And she uses the fact that I guess her father is a murder victim. I don't know the whole story about that, but she uses that as some leverage and as like some sort of card to play as to be able to do what she's doing. But if she actually had a caring for these victims, then she would treat these people with the same respect that she would demand, I would think. These loved ones and these fiance. Because she mentioned her dad earlier, so that's why I thought, okay, so her husband. Like if her fiance or husband, I was actually going to go over some of his stuff. Laura P, I think Crime Circus is more careful now how things are worded now after one of his vids got taken down. I haven't seen that his vids got taken down, but I'm going to go over some of his stuff because that shit is it doesn't
information on him.
It doesn't shock me that MGL endorsed this guy. But
him, so much more evidence on him. I think it's going to be mind-boggling. But Nancy, let me finish my point about the party, please, so your listener can hear this. Yeah. The reason I mentioned that about Caroline, he would have stuck out to her. The two surviving roommates and any other person at that party now have his face. They would have already told law enforcement he'd been in the house. So again, they're going to already know that because he would have stuck out like a 30-year-old dude, not doing a keg stand, not drinking mystery shots, and not dancing.
Which makes me think he may not have ever entered the home. But I guarantee you, Cheryl, he got as close as he could, even maybe up on the porch to where that sliding glass door. And there are two sliding glass doors. There's one on the side and one in the back. Oh, here's another thing I've learned. In the beginning, we were speculating that from this angle on the street, you see that entrance only. Only when you come around to the side do you see the sliding.
You see the picture that they're painting. Like, how do they know? Okay, how does this psychiatrist lady know that he wasn't doing keg stands and that he wasn't playing beer pong and that he wasn't dancing? How does she know that? What are you talking about? Blending in means blending in. She's sitting there just assuming that this person, because he's almost 30, that he's not going to have a good time at a party. Like he's in college too. You know what I'm saying? Like, is he not allowed to have a good time with people that are of age? Those are his peers. Regardless of the fact that he's 28 years old, he's still a college student. How do you know he wasn't dancing? How do you know he wasn't doing keg stands? I've done keg stands after 30. I'm not going to lie. I have. Because when in Rome, why the fuck not? If I'm at a keg party and then shit gets out of hand and people start doing keg stands, why the fuck not? I'm fucking Will Ferrell in Old School and I'm like, Frank the Tank. Why not? Like if you're at a party, have fun. But she's painting this picture like it's fact that this guy was just sitting in the corner brooding and being like, No way that guy's going to blend in. Everybody's going to see him standing in the corner going, You know what I mean? Like, how do you know he wasn't blending in and having a good time with everyone else?
Sliding glass door entrance on the second floor, and there's another on the back. We were completely wrong. There's no way you can look at this house, even from the front, and not know that there are entrances elsewhere. Because when you come up on the house, when you drive up on it, you can see the side. So you see the side before you see the front. So you would see the other entrances.
That's as much of that shit. That's as much of that shit as I can listen to. Let me see real quick. All right, let's this guy's got a bunch of videos. See right here. I've never reviewed this guy before, so I've never I'm already like, what am I looking at?
In this video, we're going to talk about Bryan Kohberger, the alleged Moscow, Idaho killer who brutally made 4 college students pass away in Moscow, Idaho. Authorities say he is the Moscow killer. That's right.
So that's this dude's fucking gimmick? Is he actually paints his face like a clown and reports on true crime? Okay.
That's right. We're going to talk about that. Also in this video, we're going to discuss some previous videos I've released because I think that's worth talking about. Stay tuned to find out what I have to say about that. Also in this video, we're going to talk about the mask. We've previously discussed the mask, and now the mask is important once again. Now let's jump right into this and see what I have to say for myself.
See what I have to say for myself.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Crime Circus. My name is Drip Drop, and I'm your host as always. So many of you out there want to hear about Bryan Kohberger. Well, you're in the right place. This is the right show. This is the right channel. Make sure you subscribe with bell notifications on, smash that like button, and leave me a comment down below. Let me know how you feel about Crime Circus, and let me know after watching this video, do you think they got the right guy? I know you want to hear about every single detail about Bryan Kohberger.
And you know, good for you for getting a fucking silver play button and all that. That's great. You know, I want one. That'd be great if I ever get one. But if my gimmick is this, you know, this dark, brooding, weird shit, why the fuck? It kind of takes away from the whole effect, you know, is to like, is to just throw those bragging rights back there. Like that's literally the only object that you see in the background. The whole point is like to have no background to make it spooky and weird. But no, I got to get my silver play button back there just to make sure you guys see.
Is he the Moscow killer? Allegedly, he is. We're going to touch on many topics of Bryan's life, and I certainly can't cover it all in this short video, but I'm going to give you as much information as possible in this short video. I don't like to waste your time. Your time is valuable. So, first things first, before we discuss any information in this case, all individuals discussed are presumed completely innocent. Anything discussed in this video is not to be considered fact. Everything is purely opinion and speculation and guessing.
See, at least he gives the disclaimer. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll give him that much credit. Like, at least he gives the disclaimer. Thank you, Crispy Critters, for the super sticker. Appreciate it. You know, so like that's totally on you if you take anything that this dude is saying seriously at all. You know, like, okay, he's capitalizing on the entertainment aspect of true crime. I think it's a little, I mean, if I'm nitpicking and I'm being fucking totally anally retentive about it, like it's a little disrespectful to talk about these cases that are fresh with fucking clown makeup on and kind of minimize it like it's a fucking sideshow. That's kind of shitty. But, you know, that's, you know, to me, that's contributing to the problem. But at the at the same time, like, I could see talking about I could see talking about past cases, like past serial killers and things like that, and having that effect. But you know, like, imagine you're a family member of one of these victims and you see this asshole talking about your kid who just got murdered. You know what I mean?
Guessing. Now that we got that out of the way, let's speculate a little on what led law enforcement to arresting Brian Kohberger. Some have said it's DNA. Some have said it was the white Elantra. We're going to discuss DNA, and we're going to discuss that white Elantra.
It was.
But first, we're going to start with a boom.
It was literally
what I believe led
everything
law
in the probable
enforcement
cause
to Brian.
affidavit.
There's a website known as 4chan that's similar to Reddit, but it's more of the Wild West, and it's a little more dangerous. People can post anonymously. Nobody has a screen name. All you have is a number. Well, this case seemed to have been going cold. It had been almost 1 month to the day of the murders. On December 12th, an anonymous user posted on 4chan this message. And I am going to censor it because this is a family-friendly show on a family-friendly website. This is what the message says.
This is not a family-friendly show,
I hung their beeps
bro.
from a ceiling fan and shoved my knife up Kaylee's beep.
Okay. My man, did you just say this is a family-friendly show and then post this fucking thing from 4chan? Like, are you kidding?
I'm hiding in the woods in Beep Hole, PA. Good luck catching me. What do you think of that post? I know that's heavily redacted. I had to censor some very gruesome, graphic words out of that post. That's available out there somewhere on the internet for you to find if you choose to do so. However, proceed with caution and be careful what you come across.
Oh my God,
Anyways, bro. I believe that was the break in the case that law enforcement needed. Although I don't believe the house on King Road even had ceiling fans.
What?
This poster mentions PA and Brian.
No, that was not the break that law enforcement needed. See, I was very careful about that. I talked about that. That post, but I was very dismissive of it really quick. I was just like, it's bullshit. You know what I mean? There's nothing that connects. And then clearly, once the affidavit was released, there was nothing to connect that. Actually, it was almost immediate after that post became a thing that everyone was talking about. Law enforcement actually debunked it. Said, no, it had nothing to do with the crime. So, like...
Brian, the alleged killer, was caught in PA. He wasn't in Pennsylvania just yet. However, it's reported that his father came into town the next day after that post. So Brian was planning on going to PA at the time.
This guy is the ICP of true crime.
And that post was...
All of you people that follow this guy are fucking juggalos.
Made on 4chan. And it would also make sense why Kaylee's father was the most distraught and emotional man out of all the family members of any of the victims, because he knew his daughter had got it the worst. And what this anonymous 4chan user commented on that post probably raised a huge red flag to anybody that came across it. The authorities were probably already monitoring 4chan, and I would assume some people called in the tip line over that post. Although that site's supposed to be anonymous, nobody's truly anonymous on the internet. So although some details were wrong in that short post, what are the odds that that anonymous online user posts on that site 1 month after the murders and 2 weeks before he's caught by the police, that he would be hiding in Pennsylvania and good luck catching him? It's a known statistical fact that a lot of killers like to taunt law enforcement, and they like to be the center of attention in the case. Although not all of them want to be caught, they like to play mind games with the public and law enforcement because they think they're so much smarter than everybody. I know a lot of my viewers are smarter than me, and that's why I super appreciate you visiting Crime Circus, because you give me your input, you give me your advice.
See, I'm having a hard time not liking this guy. You know what I mean? Like, I don't hate him because he's actually, I'm always saying, like, at least, you know, like give disclaimers, explain you don't really know all the facts, blah, blah, blah. He's doing that. You know what I mean? like I said, I think it's a little disrespectful to the victims' loved ones to be like fucking dressed up like a clown and turn it into this spooky, like, how are you going to turn a tragedy into a fucking Kiss concert? The fuck is wrong with that? Like, what are you doing? It's weird. It's just fucking weird. This is not a joke. This is not a fictional thing. So it's, like, he wouldn't need to use all the makeup and the spooky fucking gimmicks to be a really good, solid true crime creator. You know what I mean? Like, it's just kind of it's kind of strange to me, dude, that I'm looking at fucking watching like Mudvayne and Nancy Grace just fucked and had a kid, and now this is what you got.
Your advice? Can you give me your...
When you hand someone your logo sticker...
Yeah, I'm not going to talk too much about that guy. I think that's pretty much all I got to say about him. But yeah, I'm having a hard time just trying to process what I was looking at. Like, it's clearly just, a true crime channel with a very, very loud gimmick. Very strange. Now, oh God, do I even want to play that? No, I don't. No, I don't want to play that at all. Yeah, actually, I think actually I'm going to just go ahead and wrap this up because I'm actually really hungry. I went to the gym and I have not eaten since I got back from the gym, and I'm marinating a steak right now, and I'm really hungry and I can't wait to cook it and eat it. But I love you guys very, very much. Thank you guys for all your support. And I want you guys to understand, like, I don't have a problem with people making money. I don't have a problem with true crime channels, covering cases, and you know what I mean? Like, I cover these cases. I talk about these things. I just have a problem with people exploiting victims, have some consideration. That's all I'm saying is, if you're somebody who follows these cases and whatnot, try to have some consideration for the victims and their families, their loved ones, before you just start jumping on a bandwagon and pointing fingers at somebody because they happen to fucking follow somebody on social media, and they might have posted something or made a weird comment because they were drunk or something. It doesn't mean that they're suspect of a crime. I'm just, I just want to see people have more consideration for how being part of such a large community can affect somebody who is grieving, and just because Nancy Grace does these things doesn't mean that it makes it okay just because she's, popular. It doesn't make it okay. As a matter of fact, like I said before, the same goes for Chris McDumbass. These people, because the larger the platform, in my opinion, they should be held to the higher standard. That's more people following. These are the people that could set the tone. These are the creators and the journalists that could set the tone of how these things are perceived. And so there's a responsibility. If this was just art, I wouldn't say that. If you were just expressing yourself with a song or no limits, you know what I mean? But we're talking about these cases, and these cases are real life, horrible situations. I'm just saying we should probably have a higher standard. We should absolutely have a higher standard for what we take in as information, because somebody's life is being affected by it. You know, I mean, if you're writing fiction, you know, sky's the limit. Write whatever you want. You know what I mean? But when you're writing fiction in regards to a factual situation where somebody lost an unspeakable amount that you may never be able to relate to, try to walk in their shoes and see how your behavior and it being on a mass level could be affecting them. That's all I'm saying. But anyways, guys, I love you, and we will do this again very soon, my friends.